Hi, welcome back. Now that we have discussed the resources in detail, let's move towards the other important aspect of the sources of sustainable competitive advantage, which will be the capabilities. Now, when I started this session, I emphasized that there will be resources in an organization, meaning human, intangible, and tangible, and their respective competencies. But it's very important that the organization will also have the correct capability in order to understand and identify these resources and effectively use them in order to create the sustainable competitive advantage for the organization. So having the resources only will not ensure that the organization will have a sustainable competitive advantage, or I would say strengths of the organization. The respective capability is very much needed and mandatory for the organizations to match or allocate these resources properly in order to create that sustainable competitive advantage. So under capabilities, there will be two subsets. One, the organization as a whole and their respective management. And what are those core distinctive competencies that an organization will need in order to push them forward towards that sustainable competitive advantage. Now, let us discuss these two aspects or sub-aspects in detail. So the first sub-aspect would be organization and management. So when we talk about organization and management, one, it details out how the organization is structured, what they want to achieve, how they want to achieve it, so on and so forth. And it also will have the respective management who will be leading this organization along with the respective resources towards that sustainable competitive advantage. So we all know that any organization who is in business will have a vision and then a resource integration or a proper structure in order to be in business, as well as they will have an end expectation with the respective objectives. Now, we will be discussing these few factors in detail. The vision of an organization would be an important part of the entire roadmap. Any organization who is in business will have a vision on what they want to achieve, because that will be the starting point of an organization in order to come up with the respective missions, the goals, objectives, strategies, and the implementation plans. So every organization should have a positive vision that can be supported by the respective employees and the management. The vision might get evolved or changed from time to time based on the market conditions and the macro environment. But yet, the core expectation of the vision of an organization will remain the same. Correct resource integration is another important part of this entire capability subject. Every organization needs to understand what would be the correct structure for their organization and the respective teams. Because if an organization is operating in a wrong structure, then there will be so much of negative impacts on the organization. For example, if the organization has a very tall hierarchy, and if people are not developed or promoted on a continuous basis, most of these employees might get stuck at a certain level. And when they come to a conclusion or a perception of my organization is not looking after me, or it would take a very long time for me to climb up the ladder, they will lose motivation and they will start looking for other options. So this structure is very much important to strike a balance of this organization. Another part would be the culture. Now, a lot of human resources is very much concerned about the culture of the organization. If the culture is not favoring a very balanced approach in terms of work-life balance, then the respective human resources would not be motivated to work. There should be a culture where the respective resources are encouraged or motivated to give their best. So, two important aspects within these capabilities under resource integration: the correct structure of the organization and the correct culture of the organization. In our first two sessions, we were talking about the culture of countries. Say when an organization is trying to move into another country, we were talking about understanding the correct culture. The reason being, if the culture is understood incorrectly, your respective strategies will be incorrect. So in the same manner, if the organization does not have a correct or a supporting culture, then they will not get the support and the effort from the respective resources. And that's why the organizations need to have the correct structure and the culture in their respective organizations. The final component under organization and management would be teamwork. Teamwork talks about motivation, where there will be a correct or an appropriate attitude to work as a team. And also, most importantly, that there will be a correct leadership within the organization. We all know that without a correct leadership and an appropriate leadership style, the entire organization would collapse. There are so many leadership styles, and there is no right or wrong answer. And the respective leadership of the organization needs to understand their structure and the culture, and they need to adopt a particular and a suitable leadership style for this particular organization. If the leadership style is not suitable for the organization, then you will see an outcome of results being not achieved. And so many resources and other assets will be ineffectively utilized. So it's very important under organization and management that the organization understands what will motivate all these resources, plus having the correct leadership style in order to move towards success. After discussing organization and the management part under capabilities, let us now move into the other component under capabilities, which will be core and distinctive competencies. What do you mean by a core or distinctive competency? Now, in today's session, we have been discussing on the aspect of resources and on the capabilities of an organization. So whatever that we have discussed from the beginning, starting from the resources, human, tangible and intangible, and then on the capabilities such as the structures, the cultures, the leadership styles, as well as the vision. The organization needs to put these aspects all together and find out the correct combination which will enable their core competencies and which will lead them towards that sustainable competitive advantage. So the core distinctive competencies would be the combinations, I would say the right combinations of the resources with the competencies, and with those the organization will have specializations that will be good, strong, distinctive and superior in performance, which will push them towards that particular sustainable competitive advantage that they need to be ahead of their competition. As we are reaching towards the end of this session, I would like to highlight on a key statement which is very valuable to any candidate or any student for their respective organizations. So from the beginning of this session, we spoke about the respective resources, namely the human, tangible and the intangible. And then we spoke about the capabilities, meaning the organization and the management, as well as the core distinctive competencies. And what is important is the organizations needs to bundle these resources, capabilities and integrate them with the distinctive competencies so that they can create value end of the day. They can create something which will be adding value to the end customer. The organization can create something which is rare and unique. They can create something which will be durable, long-standing, and which will have a security and cannot be imitated easily. They can create something that cannot be substituted easily. And they will have a culture and a unique set of propositions that will be evolving along with the market. These aspects will provide them the sustainable competitive advantage that the organization need to stay in the market. So it's very important that we bundle these items that we have learned today in order to move forward. So from a subject point of view, today what we learned was on the internal aspect of an organization. So whenever an organization is moving into another country to start up an operation, along with the external environment analysis, the respective organizations should understand and study what are their internal aspects as well. So what are their resources? What are their capabilities? In terms of resources, are they geared enough to cater a new market? In terms of capabilities, do they have the correct structures? Do they have the correct cultures? Or do they have the correct leadership in order to move to another country or a new country and start operation? And again, do they have that distinctive competencies to move into a new country and do into operations? So all these aspects will give them a sustainable competitive advantage which might have worked in their home country. But again, the organization should be careful to understand whether that sustainable competitive advantage would be the same in the new country they are trying to operate. So this is what you guys need to understand. So let us summarize what we have learned today. In our previous session, we discussed about how important is to understand the external environment, because that will give a clear picture on the opportunities and the threats that an organization will have. In today's session, we were focusing on looking at the enterprise internal aspects, which will give them a clear visibility on their strengths and weaknesses. So what we learned today was when an organization is looking into their internal aspects, there will be two main areas to focus on. First one, resources, and under resources there will be three categories, namely tangible, intangible, and human. And the other main category would be the capabilities, and under capabilities there will be organization and management and core competencies. So all these areas will end of the day will create a sustainable competitive advantage for the organization. And what do we mean by sustainable competitive advantage? A long-lasting edge for the organization to stay ahead of their competition. I have provided some more materials apart from this video, so please go through them and we can discuss in detail when we meet, and I hope you will enjoy these learnings. Thank you.